Welcome to All Ears, the official podcast of the Cedar Rapids Kernels, presented by Miracle Ear. I'm your host and voice of the Kernels, Calvin Cristoforo. On the podcast, you'll hear from past and present Cedar Rapids baseball influencers, including players, managers, executives, insiders, and more.
Cedar Rapids Kernels, let the good times roll.
Season 4, episode number 8 of the Kernels All Ear podcast. Special guest today, Kernels outfielder, Twins top pick, Walker Jenkins joins the show. I'm Calvin Cristoforo. We are presented, as always, by our friends over at Miracle Ear. Walker, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Doing well. And we're catching you here on a game day tonight. Walk us through your game day routine here as we get set for another game tonight.
Gotten here around 11:45-ish, got loose, got ready to roll, took some swings in the cage. Have a little downtime right now. So I grabbed a little bit of food, had some little cuties or oranges, however you want to call them right now. Then we're going to go out and do some on-field stuff, BP, shag, work on some outfield drills. Come back in, get ready to roll for the game, and then bang one out.
Cuties, huh? Those are your game day energy getters, those clementines?
You know, I hadn't been eating them very often, but found some tucked away in the fridge, and I was like, I'm gonna have to get on some of those. So.
Why not, right? I mean, the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah.
Speaking of, your pregame preparations routine, are you a guy that has any of those pregame, superstitions, routines you go through?
I'm very superstitious. I'm always gonna pray. I'm always gonna stretch and do the things to keep my body healthy and try to go out and compete as best I can.
Do you have a set routine you like to stick to as you go along to keep everything uniform day by day, or are you just kind of a go with the flow guy and let's see what happens?
Normally I'm a routine, and when I do things, like I'm always going to stretch. I always like to get out, around 6 o'clock before the game. Always like to try to roll and stretch out and do everything before my first activity on the day. Some of it kind of depends, like when I get into the stadium though. Like today I hit at 12 o'clock. Some days I may hit at 2, so you don't have to show up at 11:45. I don't want to. Can only stretch for so long, but so it really just depends some.
We peel back the curtain here on Walker Jenkins' game day routine, but we're talking to the Twins' first-round pick from a year ago, Walker Jenkins. And let's go back, to that part in your life, a year ago, which has been, I'm sure, a crazy whirlwind of a year for you, going from high school baseball to professional baseball, as we sit now 13, 14 months later. I wanted you to go through kind of the back end of your senior year of high school and kind of the preparation that you faced going up to the draft.
There's a lot, man. It was a very hectic kind of time of my life, but an extremely enjoyable time. You finish up the high school baseball season, put in a lot of hard work, a lot of effort that off season, play as hard as you can that year and continue to work hard. And then you kind of had a month and a half, 2 months before the draft happened. And you're kind of just like sitting there. You're like, I continue practicing baseball, continue working out, running, doing all these things. And you're kind of like, got to see where things are going. And I actually even went into summer school for 3.5 weeks before the draft. And kind of was like, you don't really know with the draft being, in the middle of the summer, your high school season's been well over. So it's kind of like spending time with family, finishing up school, and then going to college for a little bit. And then the whole draft process is just crazy because you never know how it's going to go. I had no clue.
What was on the docket in summer school?
What was what?
On the docket in your summer school classes?
All I had in summer school was a class called Learning How to Study.
Okay.
So extremely easy, but had to do a little bit of reading for it. But I had a decent amount of credits going into summer school or college just from taking community college classes in high school. So I was like, all I had to do is take one class. And so that was pretty easy. And then same kind of thing. Get up every morning, go work out, go hit, go to class, come back out and like hit on the field or do something later and hang out with the guys.
Learning how to study, I'm sure that it has some parallels to baseball. You got to learn how to study, the opposing pitchers, what you're going to see that day. And I'm sure that helps you out.
For sure.
Something that I think might also help you out is you have a background in a different sport besides baseball, which we're going to talk a lot about. Swimming was a second sport of yours. How did you start to
Mhm.
get into that?
You know, I honestly it was from some injuries I had having hip surgeries in the past. One of the best rehabs for having surgery like that was swimming. It helps kind of loosen everything up, get your body moving. It's a low stress activity where you can go and swim and it's not super hard on the joints. So when I was coming back from surgery, even a month or so after I started swimming, we'd go to the pool, we do lightweight exercises in the shallow pool, and then the more I progressed, I actually started to swim some. So talking to the guy I did rehab with, he thought it'd be a great idea for me to hop in the pool and swim in the high school season. Like, hey, it's a lot better than playing basketball. It's like I know you may not enjoy it as much, but it's probably better for your body. At the end of the day, I wanted to, I wanted to be the best baseball player, and I wanted to do whatever I could to stay healthy. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. So that's kind of how that came about.
What was the high school swimming landscape like in North Carolina?
Oh, it's just like any sport, you have different levels to it. And I wasn't a bad swimmer, but there are some schools and some guys I went up against that were on a completely different level than me. Um, swimmers don't get enough credit. I think people, they turn on their TV every 4 years and watch the Olympics and like, man, that looks easy. I could swim. Most people probably couldn't do one lap. Just it is not as easy as it looks. And I was a short distance swimmer. I wasn't one of those people that could go and swim forever. I'm too thick for that. I'm not built like a swimmer. I'd go in there in the pool and I'd start sinking. So I'd have to be in and out fast.
Well, I think people think of that. Hey, maybe swimming could be easy, and then they watch the athletes get out of the pool, and they see they're
Yeah.
they're ripped. So I
Yep.
don't know, how long that thought continues in people's minds after they see those guys get out of the pool.
Some of them are crazy, crazy athletes.
Let's talk some baseball. I mean, I'm sure every kid's dream is to play in the major leagues and play in the minor leagues, get drafted. For you, when did the idea of playing baseball professionally kind of start to resonate in your mind?
Oddly enough, I was one of those little kids that just loved baseball. I remember being 5, 6 years old, playing baseball, doing stuff with my parents, doing stuff with my buddies. That's all I wanted to do. I actually turn on the show Quick Pitch, watch it every morning, even at 6 years old. Like Heidi Watney was on there, all these people that I'm like, I loved it. Would watch it every day over cartoons and everything. Just couldn't get enough of it. And remember when I was 7 years old, I started playing travel ball for the first time, and because I wanted to. Like I remember telling my parents like, hey, when the regular little Dixie youth season, which is what I played, was over, it'd be however many games. Couldn't have been more than 10 to 15. You're like, man, I want to play more. Like I want to do more than this. So like, okay, whatever you want to do, we'll support you. So I used to tell people from that point on, like, hey, I'm going to be a professional baseball player. Like I'm going to be a big leaguer. So from a very early age, I always had the mindset of like, this is what I want to do. This is what I have a passion for.
I watched a video clip when they were interviewing you and your family, and your dad was saying how you guys would go to the beach and there'd be a field on the way to the beach, and you'd make him
Yeah.
stop and practice at the field. Is that a true
Yep.
story?
Yeah. There's have the beach where I live. Then there a block off the beach. There's this little kind of rundown field, and that used to be when I was younger, like my favorite place to go and practice. It was gorgeous out there, right by the beach. Didn't have to drive far. Closest field to our house. So we go out there, and it'd be 12 o'clock on a summer day, and we're cooking. That's what I wanted to do. That's just what I enjoyed.
Cooking meaning it was hot.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's not quite as bad as Fort Myers, Florida, but it gets hot in North Carolina.
And the funniest thing about that clip is your dad said, the guys would be like, "Hey, why are you making him practice?" And it wasn't your dad making you practice; it was you wanting to be out there.
Yeah, no, it was. I genuinely look back with not just my dad, but my mom and my sister, and a lot of my family and friends coming out there with us and doing things with me, and just some of the most fun times I've had in my life because you're just going out there and genuinely is what I love to do. Like as a 7-year-old kid, like I wasn't saying I wanted to go out there because I hated it because dad was making me. I enjoyed it. It's a summer day. Like everybody's out doing what they enjoy, especially at that age.
Just baseball and school. I mean, at that age, that's the
Yep.
prime responsibilities of a 7-year-old.
Cedar Rapids Kernels, let the good times roll. Hey, Kernels. Hey, Kernels.
Hearing is important to living life to the fullest. That's why inside every Miracle Ear store, you'll find better laughs at family barbecues. You'll find a better life is in store at Miracle Ear when you experience the Miracle Ear exclusive advantage. It starts with our free hearing assessment, plus innovative products that will fit your needs and budget. With free service and adjustments for life, call 319-243-7105 to schedule a free hearing evaluation and find a better life in store. Our local Miracle Ear team is proud to support the Cedar Rapids Kernels.
Group outings are a great way to unwind and enjoy a night out, and we invite you to reach out to our group sales staff and see all the options we have.
Everybody knows when you're at the game, the good times roll. Hey, Kernels, let the good times roll. Cedar Rapids Kernels, let the good times roll.
Talking with Walker Jenkins here on the Kernel's All Ear Podcast, Season 4, Episode number 8, presented as always by our friends over at Miracle Ear. I'm Calvin Cristoforo. All right, so we're getting the pureness of the game. You love baseball. At what point did it turn from, all right, I love this game, to, wait a second, I think I'm pretty good at this game?
You know, I I practiced a lot. I always worked really hard, even from a young age. Like I'm talking about there. Like we would do that every day. Go out, whether it was in our that little field, our backyard, even in our garage. We hung a golf net so I could hit into like somewhere. I was doing something baseball wise from an extremely young age. Um, and I was always really good, kind of for our little local area. Um, but I wouldn't say until I was about 13, travel ball, like you start playing out of kind of your area in the state, where I started to kind of branch out a little bit and kind of understand how it kind of works a little bit more. Because you're always at a younger age, you're just going out competing. Like, I want to beat the other guy, I want to do as good as I can, but you don't really understand how everything works. Always knew I was good for the teams I played on and the guys I was playing against, but didn't really know to what scale. And then you go out and start playing some guys from, the West Coast or Florida, Texas, these different places. And you're like, I can compete with anybody. Like I'm good enough to go out there and hold my own against anybody. And I think that's kind of when not only myself but my family and a lot of the people I grew up with, like, yeah, you use a chance to be a really good ball player if he sticks with it.
Absolutely. And you end up, playing your high school season, a two-time Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of North
Mm-hmm.
Carolina, which is obviously a very big award. What was your reaction the first time you got that award, your junior year of high school?
I was I was surprised. I had a good season and was kind of like, I've worked hard and am deserving of it in that way, but thought there were also a lot of other guys that had great years and were also just as deserving. So it was honestly just a extremely awesome award to receive, just knowing that it could have gone to a lot of other guys.
And at this time, I'm sure there's a lot of, college and professional buzz going on with you. You ended up committing to North Carolina, I believe, your home state university. When did you commit there, and what was the process of that like for you?
That was right after my freshman year of high school. Um, that process was not too crazy hectic, but kind of hectic at the same time. I talked to four schools, talked to East Carolina State, EC, Duke, and Chapel Hill, and always really liked Chapel Hill. My dad played baseball at NC State. My mom went to Chapel Hill just for school, and always kind of liked Chapel Hill more. Whatever reason, I liked NC State because my dad went there, but just always liked Chapel Hill more, and kind of always is kind of where I thought I wanted to go, and got some offers from these other schools and talked to them and Chapel Hill offered me, and I had built a great relationship with the coach and really liked the program there and a lot of the history and the facilities and everything. So I was like, this is where I want to be. So talked it over with my family, spent like a weekend on it to think on it, and then decided to commit there.
Absolutely. We keep going back and forth, chronological wise, but I also want to talk about your time with Team USA because that was
Mm-hmm.
a loaded, U18 Team USA team that you played with. I mean, some of the guys on that team, very, very talented. What was that experience like for you?
Oh, that's awesome. Not even just playing with some of those guys on the field, but even some of the coaching staff that was there, I'd say was some of the most beneficial learning processes for me, was just being able to talk to some of these experienced guys that have been through what I've been through. Played in the big leagues for 10, 15 years. One of the guys that coached me was Michael Kadire. Played with the Twins for almost 10 years, I believe. And, that's someone that, you can't teach that. Yep, that's exactly right.
There he
He
is.
is a guy that has been around and seen just about all of it at the top level, and so I picked his brain a lot. It's extremely beneficial for me.
If you're listening on our audio only streams, I held up a Michael Kadire bobblehead, which is in the office that I'm in, as Walker was talking there. That parlays into the junior year. Then the senior year of high school, I'm sure you must have had a pretty big target on your back. Reigning Gatorade Player of the Year, a guy with all these accolades going into his senior year of high school. How did you balance that of, I'm going to my last semester of high school versus the expectations that you had for that high school year?
I tried to go about it the same way I did every other year. I'm going to go out and I'm going to play as hard as I can. I'm going to remain focused, continue to remember, like, love baseball, but it's not my purpose for life. It's something I enjoy doing and can make others and myself better. And I feel like when you can remain focused, like, hey, this is something I love to do and I've been blessed to be able to do. It kind of keeps you grounded because it's not always easy. Because going into that year, there was a lot of kind of stress and buzz going on, and you're like, all right, I'm extremely excited, but there's going to be a sigh of relief kind of when the season's over. And that's kind of how it was. But there was a lot of people that didn't like me that had never even met me. They're just like, yeah, we don't like this guy. We want to get him out. Like, I get it. That's part of it. It's part of competing. So,
I mean, what's the saying? Nobody hates nobodies, right?
yeah,
So I'm sure there was some people from other schools that had the target on your back just because the name and the accolades that you had.
maybe so.
We touched on the period, between your senior year and the draft, that month and a half, and you said it was quiet, but I'm sure your phone wasn't quiet, with teams and agents and stuff like that. I mean, how did you all keep that in the back of your mind while you still tried to get better during that month and a half or so?
You'd actually be surprised. Kind of after that high school period, it does get really quiet. A lot of the teams are trying to, I guess, hold their cards. They don't want guys knowing too much. They don't want agencies knowing too much. So I really didn't have much going on. They're like, look, just continue to don't get hurt. Like, don't do anything stupid. Continue to work, get better, and spend some time with your family before your life changes in one of two ways. You go to college or you get drafted and you start playing baseball. So that's what I tried to do. Try to make the most of the time I had and spend it with family, friends, people I love, and do what I enjoy. So really wasn't too much buzz going on. And then about a week before, it kind of started to kick up again. So it really was quieter than most people think.
Stay connected with the Cedar Rapids Kernels all year long by following the Kernels on social media. Catch up with the Kernels on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at CR Kernel.
Talking to Walker Jenkins here on the Kernels All Here podcast. This is season 4, episode number 8, presented by Miracle Air. Calvin Cristoforo with Walker here. And, we touch on that draft time, but when did the Twins, start to enter the picture? Did you know beforehand in that week or so leading up to the draft that they were in the conversation? You obviously knew where they were drafting and your name, in that position, but when did the Twins really, come in the picture for you?
I probably talked to the Twins less than anybody else. Um, they texted my agent, I guess, probably 30 seconds before the pick, like we're taking Walker. Didn't give us a phone call, nothing. Just that's all. That's all we got. So rest is history.
That's funny. And I've seen the clips of you were at home for the draft
Hmm.
with a bunch of family and friends. And what was the reaction when you got that name called?
It was a really awesome experience. Very humbling. Something you've worked for a long time. Just kind of seeing it play out. It was really cool.
In the world when that comes after that, you get the Twins jersey, and then you're down in Fort Myers meeting the other draft picks in the class, and then
Hmm.
you're in a single A professional game months later. I mean, what was
Yep.
that post draft process like, especially meeting all the guys down there that were drafted in your class?
It was awesome. I've already formed so many, I feel like, lasting relationships with other players, other guys, coaches, staff. A lot of the people that I've worked with already, I'll talk to for years and years to come. Just it's been absolutely awesome.
You go through your first off season, and then you go through your first spring training, which I think is an eye opening moment. Just from experience talking to guys who go down there and see the spring training atmosphere for the first time. What was that experience like for you?
Spring training was a blast. I loved it. It's work, getting after it, playing all the time. Had some injuries, which never is fun. Just with the hammy and the quad and different things going on, but that's part of it. It was a great learning process for me, but I enjoy it. If I'm playing baseball, I got to go practice. I'm gonna have fun. So
You get all ready to go for your first full professional season, and then opening night happens in Fort Myers. That must have been a devastating moment for you when you crash into the wall and you go down for a month plus.
yeah, but it's part of it, part of the game.
Absolutely. But then you get back on track and you get to the point where you get the promotion to High A Cedar Rapids. What was the promotion story like for you? How'd you find out? And what was that like?
That was awesome. Pretty much like most of the other guys that get promoted. After a game, manager Brian comes in and is talking to guys, and me and Matt Clayton got promoted on the same day. So he kind of called everyone together and said he had a couple announcements, and then said, "Hey, Maddie's going to High A. Everyone's congratulating him." And then said, "We got one more," and it was like Walker's joining them. So we both got the news and got packed up and shipped out the next day.
Did you expect it to come?
Yeah, I think I was expecting it at some point. I wasn't sure when though. Just coming back from the injury stuff and I feel like I was kind of being monitored some, and so I wasn't really sure. But I thought performance wise, it was going to come sooner rather than later. But I wasn't really trying to stay focused on that too much. I was just trying to go out on the ball field and play and do what I can do.
And you mentioned Matthew Clayton was promoted with you. A bunch of guys from your Fort Myers team have been promoted recently. Has that
Yeah,
made your transition, from single to high A easier at all?
I would definitely say so. Having guys that you're familiar with, guys guys you've spent months with, it's always nice to have them around. Thankfully, a lot of the guys here though too, like mentioning spring training, you spend a lot of time with just about everybody in the minor leagues. Um, so getting to know guys, it's a pretty easy transition when you have some guys that you're comfortable with, you enjoy being around at each and every level.
A couple of times you've mentioned, either in conversation or during this show, uh, this is a job for you. I mean, it's your first real job, out of high school. Did you have any other jobs, maybe while you're going through high school? Or is this your first job?
This is my first real job. Like a lot of other little high school kids, I would have a buddy. We find something to do, whether it was cutting some grass or moving some furniture. But I was never employed by really anybody. I'd pick up little things here and there in the summertime when I wasn't playing baseball. But my parents always told me, it was like, we will, you're pursuing your dream. Like this, if this is what you want to do, we will support you. And it's like, if you stop and you don't want to play anymore, you're going to have to work in the summertime. But if you want to pursue your dream, we're going to support you with it and we're going to allow you to do it. So that's kind of the motto they had for me in high school. And it was kind of like When I got home, I think if I was just sitting around on my butt all the time, my dad and my mom would be like, hey, you got to get out of the house. You got to start working. You got to do something. But I was always like, even when I was home from playing, I was going and practicing. I was working hard and, um, you know, doing all the same things.
And this is also the first time that you're not living at home. I mean, what's that experience like being out of the house and being in Iowa of all places?
It's all been new. It's all been a learning experience, new routines, new people, new places. But it's a lot of fun. Like I came here and it truly is a blast. You get to play baseball and meet new people. Like it's awesome.
And we got to let you go because, we're getting ready for a game tonight here. You're getting your pregame routine in. But I want to end with this, and we've touched on it, you and I in conversation beforehand. Something I've noticed is, you're always out there willing and ready to give autographs to fans that come down to the field, before game, after the game. There's a line by the first base dugout on most nights here at a Veterans Memorial Stadium. What drives you to, accommodate those fans that line up and want your autograph either before a game or after a game and sometimes even after a loss?
Um, and I've told you this, and I've told a lot of people this. A lot of it is just me remembering being in that kind of same situation. I remember being a kid and going to some of the Pelicans games, the Sharks games, different teams down where I grew up, and just it meaning a lot if a guy acknowledged you or said hey or you know just even threw you a ball, anything like that. And I had no clue about the cards. I had no clue about the collectors. I was just going to games because I enjoyed baseball and enjoyed watching it, enjoyed seeing guys play, and it as a kid that just loved the game, it meant a lot to me when someone would just at that level, someone I was looking up to would be, hey, or throw you a ball or just kind of give you a head nod. It was really cool. So I really just try to do that for other people, hoping it would push their love for the game and drive them to want to do the same.
Paying it forward and growing the game of baseball. Walker Jenkins, Thank you so much for taking the time. We'll let you get
Anytime.
back to your game day routine. This was season number 4, episode number 8 of the Kernel's All Your Podcast, presented by Miracle Ear. I'm Calvin Cristoforo. That was Walker Jenkins. We'll catch you at the ballpark, hopefully sometime this year.
Invisible Hearing Solutions for ultimate discretion. Miracle Ear is here to help, so you can find a personalized solution that fits your needs, lifestyle, and budget. Miracle Ear has over 70 years of expertise and over 1,500 stores nationwide. Make a sound decision. Call 1-800-MIRACLE now and book your free hearing evaluation.
Your local Miracle Ear team is proud to support your Cedar Rapids Kernels. Enjoy the game.